Alright, so welcome class. Welcome professor. I'm going to be doing a presentation about the ability for interrogation of prisoners of war and how we need to keep the assets instead of taking them away from our military personnel out in the field so that we can have greater ability to protect ourselves in the future. So many troops and civilians have died because of false information or a delay of information over the years. This all started off with the September 11 attacks in 2003, and we've been fighting this war on terrorism. For me personally, it is a really important subject area just because I am working on becoming a leader in the Army. So in the Soldier's Creed, it says towards the end, "I'm the guardian of freedom and the American way." So it is my job to be able to save people and protect my troops in any kind of situation. But over the time, it has been limited. It has been limited by many of the different excuse me. Over the years, people have thought that these acts have been immoral and they're not properly executed. And one of the ways that they have tried to enforce this is through the Geneva Convention of 1949. And there are a couple parts. There's part 1 of Article 2 of the Convention where it gives people mobility. It gives protection to prisoners of war and detainees, but it is only done through the definition of war. Also, that other areas of this article doesn't allow them to do a lot of worse acts, such as being able to use immoral acts, such as doing the sexual acts or being brutally attacked. And other limitations have been from they have what is called now what the Army has is a manual, approximately 400 pages, and it has 19 interrogation techniques that is based upon only trying to convince them to being able to give up this information. But what we have come to find is that when we use harsher techniques, we are able to we're able to extract information a lot faster, and being able to apply that out in the field. Some of the important things was that a lot of people have heard of what's called waterboarding, and it is a way of simulating being drowned. And through this, originally we captured a high Al-Qaeda leader over in Pakistan. And what happened is through him we were able to find and arrest or take multiple Al-Qaeda leaders, such as the ringleaders for the 9/11 attack, as well as other leaders in Southeast Asia that was a leader in the 2002 bombing in Bali, as well as others that have tried to create biological weapons such as anthrax. So over time, a lot of people have tried to limit these legal methods, such as the Detainee Treatment Act in 2005, prohibiting cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. But over time, we have seen that because of what the military has done, we have been able to decrease the amount of terrorist acts throughout the world, and there has not been any more attacks on the United States. And so, what I wanted to conclude is that we need to continue with these actions so that we can have fear on other organizations that try to come and harm us. So that's all I've got to say.
Time.
Yes, you can applaud. Thank you. All right, Kris, you need to have an explicit statement of the proposition. I know what your topic area is, I know the general direction, but we need a propositional statement. There's no preview of what the contents are going to be. You need to lay out, here's how I'm going to prove this particular point. I can't pick out a structure. It seems like you're moving from one idea to the next, and there's no signposting of the structure. In an oral presentation, it's really important to give that kind of organizational structure. I didn't hear any source citations for any of your information. The one example that you have about, I think it's Sheikh Khalid that they took in Pakistan, that they did the waterboarding on. I think that's who you're talking about. I'm familiar with it because I've been reading, I've read a little bit about that, but you don't give a source citation on that and all the information that came from that. I know you got that information from someplace, and so that needs to be presented in the argument. The only other places where there's some supporting evidence presented are factual data about information from the Geneva Convention, which is not really specified as to what it is or where you got the information, and information about the Army Manual. Again, what the techniques are that they allow or don't allow and whether or not they're effective, that's not really discussed. You make a lot of links between these interrogation techniques and the notion that they limit terrorist activities or that they've been successful. In fact, you kind of claim that it's the interrogation techniques that have prevented any terrorist attacks in the U.S. for the last 6 or 7 years, and I think that's an awfully big inference to make. The one example that you have talks about how it might have been effective, for instance, in stopping those bombings in Bali and some of the anthrax attacks that might have been planned, but have there been other cases? And of course that case is already 4 or 5 years old, so why do we continue to need this? Do we have the same kind of threat that's going on? That's something that's missing from your argument, and so you need to get a little bit more on that. I think you're making some broad generalizations on very limited evidence right now. When you're presenting, you want to kind of get the pen out of your hand. Your pacing's a little bit awkward. I know it's probably the first time you're delivering the speech to the audience, and so you just never seem to get much of a rhythm while you're speaking, and a few more run-throughs would probably make a difference on that. I did think you tried to enhance your credibility by talking about why you wanted to talk about this, but you'd also enhance your credibility by being more certain about where you're going and what your point is. Okay? And by the way, I kind of record my comments